Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
And welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show on WKYC. We're here for the next 30 minutes. I'm Jay Crawford. First up on today's show, is tomorrow's game against the Ravens the last time we'll see Ken Dorsey calling plays for the Browns? We'll get into that. Bull.
I'm Adam the Bull, and the Browns are a 20-point underdog. Yes, you heard me correctly. They're the biggest underdog in 3 years in the NFL, but is that enough points to get you to wager on the Browns? We'll get into that. Mikey.
I'm Mikey McNuggets, and usually I'm behind the glass, but today I am in a chair. And I'm going to tell you why fans voting in the All-Star game for a certain portion of it makes a lot of sense. And I know Bull's going to disagree with me, and I'm going to prove him wrong. Ant?
I'm Anthony Antonelli, and nobody wants to watch this Browns game this weekend, but we're going to tell you how it goes anyways with our pre-written headlines.
Yeah, we're going to put you through it, that's for sure. This is it. The misery is over after tomorrow's loss to the Ravens. Bull mentioned it, 20-point underdogs. There's not much that the Browns can do. I don't see a path to victory for the Cleveland Browns tomorrow, but we've said that before, and stranger things have happened. Kevin Stefanski, we believe, is safe. All the media reports are he is safe. It was interesting, though, yesterday, ESPN reported that Stefanski is probably safe. I'm not quite sure what that means. I don't know if perhaps front office is thinking maybe they can make a run at Mike Vrabel, who's interviewing for the Jets job. His name has come up in a couple other places as well. One of the things that I think people seem to be more definitive on is the offensive coordinator role. Ken Dorsey was brought in to rejuvenate on offense. And even though he took over play calling from Kevin Stefanski before the midway point of the season, this offense is taking a major step backwards. Is tomorrow it for Ken Dorsey?
I think it should be, but I don't think it will be.
Really?
No, maybe I'm crazy. I still don't understand why they fired essentially the entire offensive coaching staff last year when they overachieved, and this year where they were terrible, they might not fire anybody. But I think right now Jimmy Haslam, who was so quick to pull the trigger on everything for years, is obsessed with the fact that he doesn't want to make quick decisions. And because of that, the Browns will continue to suffer with Ken Dorsey. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, I could not disagree more than I am with Bull right now. I think this is by far, unquestionably, the last game Ken Dorsey will be on the sidelines here for the Cleveland Browns, and rightfully so. If you're going to move on from Alex Van Pelt, who last year led the Browns to a middle-of-the-pack offense, it wasn't great, but it certainly wasn't bad. They finished 10th in the league in points, 16 in yards per play, and if you look at the numbers this year, they're in the bottom three in almost every offensive category that matters. Points, rushing yards per game, passing yards per game. The turnovers are absurd. I know that's not always on the offensive coordinator, but you look at Ken Dorsey's history, the turnovers for Josh Allen got cut significantly down when he wasn't calling plays, so maybe it does have to do something with the offensive
They knew that when they hired him.
Well, it hasn't worked.
They already had that information.
And it's a great thing to try something. You know, you try some new foods. You're not going to like them all.
Yeah.
Ken Dorsey, I respect the idea of why they decided to go in that direction with the new offensive coordinator, but it simply hasn't worked, and there's no indication that there's any reason why he should be brought back next year.
Yeah, Bull, I agree with the first part of your statement. He should be gone.
Yeah.
I disagree with the second part of your statement.
All right, I hope you're right.
He has to be gone. And I think what happened with Ken Dorsey is a classic example of an organization being behind the trends. Mm-hmm. The trend was already moving in the direction of two high safeties. We saw it last year. We see it even more this year. So what does that mean? Well, that means that the wide open free passing attacks aren't gone, but they are no longer the norm. And we've seen that this year. There have been good passing games. Hell, Jameis Winston gave us two of the great ones. But the problem with that is, with two high safeties, you're going to throw a lot more picks. And that's exactly what we saw with Jameis Winston after he had some early success. Ken Dorsey and his offense was probably better suited for the NFL 5 years ago. I think that because of the changes that the league has made, that passing attack and that kind of offense just is not going to work moving forward, and we saw it.
Yeah, teams are finding a different way because after a slow start to the season, I remember early in the year we talked about the running game coming up.
Yeah.
Now the passing numbers were not down, I think, when it was all said and done.
Yeah.
Passing numbers were up, but teams are doing it differently.
They had to.
It's more of a methodical move down the field.
Well, if you look at Mahomes, I think Mahomes, even Burrow to a certain extent, if you look at the way they're racking up the yards, they're not taking all these deep shots that they used to take. With Mahomes, you look at his throw chart, everything is short.
Yeah.
Everything is high percentage, quick shots out to the flats, and you set up the bubble screens and things of that nature. So, yes, they've reinvented a way to get passing yards, but it's completely different than what Ken Dorsey's brought to the table. And it's almost like they were blind to the changes that the league had made defensively, and they kept trying to do it the old way, and it just didn't work.
And if we assume that Kevin Stefanski is going to be safe for next season, he's certainly going to enter 2025 on the hot seat. And if you're going to enter 2025 on the hot seat, and you have to figure out the whole quarterback situation, you're going to want a guy who fits your system. And they brought in Ken Dorsey to fit somebody else in Deshaun Watson because he didn't fit.
Yeah. Well, they
Kevin
brought
Stefanski's
him in
system
to try to salvage Deshaun Watson. It didn't work. They're essentially giving up on Deshaun Watson. They're pretending they're not, but at this point they've given up on him. So now it would make sense to let go of Dorsey. I just don't have faith that Jimmy's going to get it right.
I agree with what you said. One of the criticisms on Haslam was too quick of a trigger finger.
Yeah.
But when you know it's wrong, move on.
hope.
You can't double down on that and have another year where the offense finishes in the bottom three. It's not like we're middle of the pack. We're clearly, by any metric, we're one of the worst offenses in the NFL. You've got to change that out. Quickly, Bubba Ventrone, special teams. A lot of problems this year. Jim Schwartz, defensive coordinator. Have they coached? Are they going to coach in their final game as a Brown tomorrow?
I'm keeping Schwartz. I'm okay moving on from Ventrone.
Okay.
I'd keep both. They both had great first years and down second years. If I'm going to stick with Kevin, I give them both another chance, and then next year, if it all goes bad, I fire everybody.
The offensive line coach has essentially...
he's gone.
I mean, he's got to be gone.
Yeah.
Mike Vrabel, who was brought in as a consultant, has essentially taken over as the offensive line coach.
Yes.
So I think that's the one that we would all agree on is definitely going to happen, but we'll see.
You went from the best offensive line coach, running game coordinator, to the worst situation.
Yeah, not a good situation. All right, Bull, to your topic.
Yeah.
Cleveland's a 20-point dog tomorrow.
Yeah.
Even in their 0-16 season from 7 years ago, whatever that was, they were never more than a 13.5-point underdog. This is like a landmark of apathy, of incompetence. This is the standard over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
How many points would you need before you would feel comfortable taking the Browns to win?
35.5.
That's my exact, for the record, that is my exact number.
Did I steal your number?
Yeah, you were higher yesterday, and I told you 35.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. What did I say? I said 42
You
and a
said
half.
42 and a half.
42 and a half. That's right. Here's the thing. This is, I mean, honestly, if it was 27 and you had to bet, who would you bet on?
I need at least 30.
Okay? Because here's the thing. It's a perfect confluence of events. 1, the Browns are hideous. 2, their quarterback situation is a disaster. 3, they don't even have a running back. Deontay Foreman's the only active running back on the roster. Okay, their tight end's out, their best corner's out. They're playing a team in the Ravens that's very good. Now,
and motivated.
Their defense hasn't been great, but it's been better lately. And they have to win the division.
Yes.
It's, a lot of times in the last week, even if they have something to play for, this is huge. They got to win because, they still win the division if the Steelers lose, but the Steelers play after them, so they're not going to have any idea. They need to win this game, and they're going to want to build up as big a lead as possible. Now, as you said before, Harbaugh may take his foot off the gas at the end. I just think if it's 35-0 in the third quarter, the Ravens are going to want to pitch that shutout.
See, I think they will on defense, but I also think that at some point you are thinking about the playoffs.
Yeah, right.
And once the victory is secure, whatever that is, even with Ohio State when they went up big, 34-0, all of a sudden it's 34-14 and you're like, you didn't feel so confident. I think at some point Harbaugh will say, okay, the W's in the bag.
Yeah.
Lamar, you're out. All of the starters on offense, you're out.
Sure.
And now he may try to preserve the shutout, maybe. But I think at some point the Browns will be able to do something late because they're going to be doing it against guys that are on second and third team.
There's really no number that could get me to bet on the Browns. It would either be I bet on the Ravens or I just don't bet on the game.
I went through Baltimore's schedule just to look at some of their bigger wins this season. They beat Buffalo by 25. They beat Denver by 31. They beat Houston by 29. They were up 35-0 on the Giants, and they beat Pittsburgh by 3 scores as well. So they are no stranger to putting a whomping on some pretty good football teams.
Yeah.
I think they can name their number if they want to.
What's astonishing is Cleveland beat them the first time around this year.
It's hard to believe.
It is hard to believe.
Yeah.
I know there's been a lot of talk the last week about comparing college to the NFL. How did Ohio State lose to Michigan? They go both ways, Tennessee and Oregon. It's a rivalry. These things happen.
Yeah.
Cleveland, who is in line and may well get the first overall pick, beat the Steelers and the Ravens, are both going to the playoffs, and you can only explain it because it's a rivalry. Crazy things happen in rivalry games.
Who was the Browns' third win? Oh, the Jaguars.
The Jaguars in week 2.
And that was dicey, too, by the way. All right, Cleveland has a shot, as I just mentioned, at the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
So here's the path. They're fighting for the number 1 overall pick with New England, who has to beat Buffalo.
Yeah.
And Buffalo's
nothing to play for.
Nothing to play for.
Yeah.
They're going to rest their starters.
Josh Allen is going to play the first quarter.
I heard he might play a series. I didn't hear the first quarter.
I just saw that.
Because he wants to keep his streak alive.
Yeah.
So the expectation was he would play the first series so he can keep his game started streak alive, and then sit.
Yeah.
I didn't hear first quarter.
I just saw expected to play early. So I
I think that's going to be the first series, and
yeah.
then he's going to be done. The idea here is Mayo's probably could be coaching for his job. There's rumblings that maybe they might be interested in bringing Mike Vrabel back. And then Tennessee has to beat Houston, but Houston is resting all of its starters.
In fact, Tennessee's favored.
Tennessee's favored. So there is a real path to the Browns getting the number 1 overall pick.
Yes.
Put a percentage chance on that happening.
I went with 25 because I think even though you can talk yourself into New England beating Buffalo's backups and Tennessee beating Houston's backups, those guys are ahead of the Browns for a reason. It's a 3-13 team across the board, same with the Browns, and they all know what's at stake. It's not like we're the only city, look at our path to the number 1 draft pick.
Sure. They're doing the same thing.
They're doing the same thing, and I think the Browns losing to Baltimore is the most likely and most certain of the 3 scenarios.
I agree. That's a lock.
But for the other 2 things to both happen, knowing the consequences of you have a shot to lose on the first overall pick.
Yeah, but the players don't care about that. The players
I'm just saying.
We saw the Giants
25%.
last week played hard to
I didn't
win.
say 0. I said 25.
Yeah, no, it's just like a parlay. I would agree with you. It's probably 20 to 25% chance that it hits.
Yeah.
You're playing a 3-game parlay. The Browns are your lock.
The Browns are that's like
losing,
95%.
That is a lock. The Browns are finishing 3-14.
Yes.
The only question here is, you mentioned that the players don't care about the draft picks, and for the most part, they don't. But I do think we're going to find out in New England how much they like Mayo. Do the players love him? Are they willing to go out there and win one for the Gipper so he can keep his job?
Yeah.
Because there's now in Tennessee they're not going to fire a first-year coach, so that's not at play.
Yeah.
But
Mayo's a first-year coach too.
I know he is, but that's rare that happens.
Yeah. Gotcha,
it's happening in New England because it's just been abysmal. In Tennessee, I think a lot of this went sideways because they just took the wrong guy at quarterback. They just that's a mess. But I can't imagine that Tennessee is. I haven't heard any rumblings whatsoever.
Yeah.
That Callahan's.
I think it's ridiculous to fire a coach after 1 year.
I do too, but I don't think New England will end up doing it. But the fact that there's talk about it, the players hear that. That could be motivation for them to go out and beat a Buffalo team that is going to be mailing it in with backups. So
I'm going to give New England a 35% chance to win.
Okay.
And I'm going to give Tennessee a 50% chance.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So whatever that adds up to, I think the Browns have a 95% chance of losing. I think about 25%. Yeah.
25.
I'm most worried about New England.
Yeah, because Mitch Trubisky, when he's gotten in these Week 18 starts, has played pretty well, and a lot of the guys.
That's right. Who's starting for Houston?
So
they have a veteran backup, if I'm not mistaken.
Davis Mills?
Yeah, I think it is Mills. He's been there forever.
Yeah, well.
Texans starting quarterback.
Yeah, it is probably Mills. They had somebody. Didn't they have Case Keenum there at one point? Or am I making
Not
that
anymore,
up?
I don't think.
Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It is Davis Mills.
I think the fact of the matter is there's a chance that the Browns end up with the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
A place that they're very familiar. The big question is, even if they end up with that number 1 pick,
do you go quarterback?
I don't think they take it. I think they trade down.
Absolutely.
And give it to a team that wants to take a chance on one of these 2 quarterbacks, which most of the experts agree are anything but a sure thing.
But if they trade down, don't trade down too far.
Get capital.
Stay in the top 10.
Get a lot of picks.
Yeah.
Stay in the top 10. but get multiple picks.
Right.
Get a first, get a second.
Get a first for next year.
Get a first for next year. Get whatever you can get.
That's more
next
important.
year, where in theory Arch Manning might be, who knows?
Now, it would be just like the Browns to get the number 1 pick in a year you don't want the number 1 pick. You want the number 1 pick when Joe Burrow's coming out.
Yeah.
You don't want the number 1 pick when it's between Sanders and look, what happened in Miami with opting out of the second half, that's going to create all kinds of questions.
I don't think
for
it
him.
I don't think so.
I think it does. I think it does.
I don't know
like
why
it.
he played in the first place.
I don't either. But if you're not going to play, don't play. But don't decide at halftime, I'm going to walk away from my teammates. Bad look. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're talking Cleveland Cavaliers. Man, this team is just on a roll. The All-Star balloting, though, the first release of the All-Star balloting, you'd never know this has been a historically good team. We're going to talk about that when the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show on WKYC comes right back. Welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, NBA All-Star voting. First, they released this. I think there's one more before the final,
yes,
right?
Correct.
So, but I got this batch yesterday, and I looked at it, and I thought, this has got to be wrong. Donovan Mitchell is second among the guards, which, okay, personally, I would have him first, but if you want to have him second among the guards, that's fine. Where it really gets crazy is Evan Mobley is 10th among front court players, and Darius Garland is not even in the top 10 for backcourt players. Mm-hmm. The way it works is the fans get half the say. They
Correct.
get 50% of the vote. The media vote counts for 25%, and then the players vote on the other 25%. It used to be all fans.
Yeah.
This is a fans game.
Yeah.
Is this current system right, where it's split 3 ways and the fans only have 50% of the say?
Yes.
The numbers and the rankings are
just
the
fan
fans.
vote.
Yeah.
That is just a fan vote. Yeah, and that's how it should be. Because this is a game for the fans. It's an
Well, then
exhibition.
shouldn't it be
game.
100% like it used to be?
No. Then, yeah, I'm fine with that too, actually, to be
Yeah,
honest
yeah,
with you. But to the question of should fans have a say in this, yeah, they should, because it's a game for them. And we've talked about ad nauseum in the last few years. The All-Star game stinks. They play no defense. It's just a three-point shooting and dunk competition. Well, do you know who?
All of that's true, by the way.
And I'm not disagreeing with that whatsoever.
Yeah. They're changing it this year, though.
Yeah, it's a weird format.
I don't like the format this
8
year
versus
at all.
8 versus 8 versus the right.
Yeah.
But the big point is, this is a game to showcase the players the fans want to see. And most of the time, that is the best players in the league. And when you look at the current rankings, it's funny that LaMelo Ball, who we talked about a second ago, is number 1 in the guards, but he has the biggest social media following of any basketball player, which makes sense. But it's a game for the fans, so let the fans decide. It's a meaningless exhibition other than that. So I have no issue with the fans having a massive say in who starts and who doesn't, as long as it's not someone ridiculous like JT Thor starting over Giannis. If we get to that point, then I have an issue. But for this, I see nothing wrong with it.
I don't love it. Bull, I don't know where you are on it.
Yeah.
I like the fact that the fans have a voice because it is a fans' game. The game is for them, ultimately. Yeah. But also, you want to showcase the best players. And this is egregious on every level. This is wrong. Darius Garland is not a top 10 guard. I don't see.
Yeah, but he's not. I mean, he's not going to win.
Evan Mobley is 10th.
Well, let me see the list again, guys. Like, is it egregious? I don't know, Mike. I mean,
LaMelo Ball has the most votes of any guard in the Eastern Conference.
And that is egregious.
He should not. That is correct.
Yeah.
And it's certainly fair to say that Darius Garland has been a top 10 guard in the Eastern Conference this year. He certainly deserves to be higher on this list, but once again, it's a game for the fans, and if the fans want to see certain players, it is what it is.
What I don't understand is why fans just vote for their own players. It doesn't make any. Like, I saw fans trying to promote, let's vote for Nick Chubb for the Pro Bowl. I love Nick Chubb. Why would I vote for him for the Pro Bowl?
Yeah,
Nick Chubb was selected as an alternate for the Pro Bowl. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The only reason this matters, it's really in football. I'm not sure if it really corresponds in the other sports, but in football, sometimes guys' bonuses are connected to Pro Bowls.
Absolutely.
Which is stupid because it's the fans
But teams
who
do
vote.
it. Teams do. They structure a lot of contracts.
Let me say this, why I'm fine with the fans voting. I know you thought I wouldn't be, but I am fine with the fans voting because it is their game. And the players would be just as bad. The players might be worse than the fans. Now, this is going to sound biased, but the media would actually do the best job.
You think? I think the players would.
No, because the players they're not paying close enough attention.
Well, they play against everybody. They see them.
I know that, but they're not like I feel like the players would go by the sexy names more than the media would.
See, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
I'm
especially in
question.
football.
I would like to see the players have more say. I do think that the players are the ones that know most.
But ask Tyvis and Dustin about voting. Like, a lot of guys did not take that seriously. A lot of players voting for the Pro Bowl.
Well, that's unfortunate.
But I'm fine with the fans. It should contract shouldn't be tied to it.
Because I think this is kind of wishy-washy. Yeah. You can make 2 rules changes that would improve the All-Star game. I've got 2 in mind.
Yeah.
No 3-point shots until the last 2 minutes of the first half and the fourth quarter. And each possession must have at least 3 passes before a shot is taken.
Yeah, I think
I can't watch what they do now. I never watch.
I don't watch it anyway.
I haven't watched it in 10 years.
I only watch the baseball All-Star games. The only All-Star game still
I'm
worth
with you.
watching.
It's the only one that's any good.
But I think ultimately the problem with the NBA All-Star game is nobody plays any defense, and there's no way to legislate that. So,
yeah.
Well, I mean, I think forcing the passes would make offense. You'd have to get into a set.
I don't know. They just run up the court and pass back
It's just
and
a
forth
track
to each
meet
other.
right now.
Yeah.
What 2 rules would you implement?
To make the All-Star game in particular better?
Yeah. Because they've tried a lot of different things. They're trying something new this year. I'm not interested in that either.
How about if you take a charge, it's 20 points, which incentivizes defense?
No, I don't want to see that.
I'm just saying, I'm trying to play some defense. How about that?
I would replace the mid-court line with a moat.
That's my baseball idea. Go basketball.
Yeah, there you go.
Or if you no, I don't want to see more long shots. I was going to say, take one past half court.
Then everyone's just going to start chucking.
Yeah, everybody would.
Maybe everybody has to be drunk when they play. That might be fun.
It'd probably be better basketball and more entertaining. Because what the product they put out there now is unwatchable. It is unwatchable. They turned what used to be a must-see weekend into absolutely trash.
I got the solution. It's 1 quarter. That's it. It's 12 minutes. And everyone has to play at least 1 minute. So each person has to get in. So you got to get all these crazy substitutions, and that gives you the final 4 minutes.
The guys are not going to play defense no matter what you do. And in the
final
80s,
4
the
minutes,
All-Star games were great because guys wanted to.
We got to go. And that would never happen
sorry.
because for a television rating standpoint,
I don't care
it's going to happen too quickly.
Yeah.
All right, we're taking a break. When we come back, who wins tomorrow between the Ravens and the Browns? We've got it all figured out. We share it with you in our pre-written headlines. Next. All right, it is that time. Time for pre-written headlines. The Ravens, the Browns. Cleveland's a 20-point dog. Bull, who do you got?
Jay, I had to think about this one for a long time. I struggled with who was going to win the game. And in the end, I went with this headline. No show. Browns live up to their 19-point underdog status by getting pummeled by the Ravens, 52-0.
Whoa!
He said he wouldn't take a line less than 30.
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't think it's
52-0. It probably won't be that bad, but the Browns deserve that because they are a disaster.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's sad that it's come to this.
It really is. But, they are the embarrassment of the NFL. If you go by lines over the last 3 years, no line has been greater. All right, here's what I have. Ravens devour Browns carcass, whatever's left of them. Baltimore wins 34-7 in a merciless end to a 3-14 season. So I went 34-7 because I do think that John Harbaugh, unlike his brother Jim, is a caring humanitarian that doesn't want to embarrass a divisional opponent that'll have to see twice every year.
Who will get the Browns touchdown?
Let's go with Myles Garrett. They're going to put him in as tight end.
Love it.
And he's going to catch a touchdown.
There you go. I like that.
I followed suit to an extent. I went executed to perfection. Zappy Tanks, plays exactly as expected as the Browns secure a top 3 pick in the 2025 NFL Draft.
I like the cross out of
Tanks.
That's
Good.
Yeah, try a little bit.
That's going to be about what it is.
What was your score? You didn't put a score on there.
Undecided. A lot to a little. And what's your headline?
I got it's finally over. Pathetic Brown season comes to an end with a 35-3 loss to the Ravens. Let's go Cavs.
Yeah. I like the Cavs.
That should have been the headline for all of us. Just let's go Cavs.
Is anybody?
Yeah, I agree.
If you were going to bet on this game for the Browns, if you bet on the Browns money line, must be crazy.
I can tell you if you give me
one of
the
high. It's got to be plus.
We got 30 seconds. See if you can find it.
FanDuel, #1 sportsbook app in the world.
I mean,
it is.
If it'll load.
At least we don't have to wait all the way to Sunday to end the season. They're done tomorrow.
Yeah,
at 4:30.
that's the good news. I mean, the season is definitively over tomorrow,
Yeah.
and our show is over right now. Enjoy the game.
Minus 4,000 on the money line
Minus 4,000
for the Ravens.
That's going to be as big as
turn it into a payday.
Plus 1,500 if you want to take the Browns.
Enjoy the game. We'll see you Monday. See you tomorrow on the post-game show.
Saturday.
Browns, so wrap it all up.
Go Cavs.